Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and Argentina's economy is facing a steep collapse, and I know you've probably heard this story before because it is on repeat. The Argentinian peso has been facing problems for decades, constantly being rebranded, renamed, well, keeping the same name, but it's a new currency, quote unquote. And of course, this has affected millions and millions of people in Argentina. We're going to go into this today because we have been talking about this since around 2015 with John Snyson here at World Alternative Media. And I wanted to mention, this is an older article, and this is interesting. It's from Reuters. Argentina diffuses default crisis with massive debt deal. And this debt deal included, the government said, as it says, the deal and a separate restructuring of local law dollar debt would together bring financial relief of $37.7 billion over the 2020 to 2030 period and help cut average interest payments on foreign law bonds to 3% from 7%. Okay, so this relief that was supposed to go between 2020 and 2030 obviously isn't working out so well because, as they say, we don't have the money. As this Zero Hedge article goes into, Argentina warns it will default again. And of course, they defaulted back in 2001 as well. They defaulted a few years ago. They're constantly defaulting, and they're facing massive inflation, which we'll get into more in a moment. Make sure to check those links below this video, my friends, to help keep us alive. Anyway, as the article goes into, there are three certainties in life: death, taxes, and Argentina defaults. And while we have seen a lot of the first in the past year, Biden is making sure we will see much more of the second in coming years. It was Argentina's president, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, known criminal, by the way, who said on Wednesday that we are about to have one more of the third. Speaking at an event in Buenos Aires, CFK said that Argentina is unable to repay its $45 billion debt with the International Monetary Fund. Remember, the IMF comes in, loans countries more money than they can afford to pay back, and then they take over their resources and feed off of the misery and poverty of those countries. As it continues, the same fund that came to Argentina's rescue in 2018 to fund the country's latest default, under current negotiating conditions, for one simple reason, and I quote, "We can't pay because we don't have the money to pay," she said, adding that the IMF's conditions are unacceptable, diminishing the possibility of an agreement with the country's largest creditor. In the speech, CFK was flanked by Axel Kicillof, sorry if I said that wrong, the governor of Buenos Aires province, and her son, Maximo. She called on the opposition to help seek better terms from the fund since they are responsible for taking on the debt under former President Mauricio Macri. And I quote, "We are not saying to not pay the debt," Fernandez de Kirchner said, when in reality, that's precisely what she was saying. Our political group was the only one that paid the debts of all the other governments. We should make an effort, the ruling party and opposition, to give us a longer term and a different interest rate on the debt that offers have contracted. CFK's comments, first reported by Bloomberg, totally bad writing here. It says whatever that means, come after discussions between Economy Minister Martin Guzman and IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva in Washington on Tuesday, that what was described by both sides as a very good meeting, although in retrospect, they were not so good. The hardline stance from Fernandez de Kirchner, who battled with creditors during her 8 years in office from 2007 to 2015, may help buy the already diminished prospects of for a deal to get done before key midterm elections in October. President Alberto Fernandez leads a broad Peronist coalition, and Fernandez de Kirchner comes from more radical but important left-wing group. The government won't solve the problems of government, my friends. And I quote, "Key players in the government's coalition would prefer to be perpetually at war with the fund," said Benjamin Guidan, director of the Argentina project at the Wilson Center, a Washington-based think tank. That attitude is not productive and complicates the economy minister's efforts to negotiate a new program. Remember, Wilson Center, I believe, was named after Woodrow Wilson, and Woodrow Wilson is a guy behind who, well, he was threatened and forced to create the Federal Reserve. Meanwhile, the IMF remains completely toothless in projecting its capital, much of which comes from U.S. taxpayers. While IMF negotiators prefer to hash out a deal with Argentina soon as possible to put the country back on path to growth, the fund knows it can't force a nation's hand, Bloomberg sources said. The IMF destroys so many countries, so many economies, and the governments of these countries also destroy their own economies, and all under the guise of fixing things. It's this Keynesian idea that if you print and print and print, you can save and save and save, and you can build and build and build. But of course, as Paul Krugman said, you could break windows and stimulate an economy. It's all nonsense. These people are insane. Their ideas have been debunked for 100+ years, and yet we still see these problems arise. I mean, just looking at the past of Argentina says everything you need to know about them. So look, this is a 10-year chart, for the Argentina peso versus the US dollar. When we were talking about it here at WAM back in 2015, 2016, and how there's a crisis brewing, it was at just about 20 to 1. Now it's at 91.8475 to 1. And before we know it, it's going to be much worse than that. Of course, looking at their inflation rate over the years, it has absolutely snowballed and looks like it's going parabolic. You don't want to see inflation go parabolic. We've seen this happen before, and this is only to 2019. They stopped giving data after this for the specifics. Of course, 2020 can't be good, and 2021 certainly not going to be good. Last time we saw it, it was 53.55%. I'm awaiting the data, and it should be interesting. This is Statista 2021. Of course, back in around 2015, it was at about 2017, between 2013 and 2017, it went up to about 25.68%. So obviously much worse now. And of course, that means the price of living skyrockets as they print all this currency, and people end up more and more broke. They may be getting paid a little bit more, but the inflation rate's going up so that it costs more to buy a loaf of bread, and then people end up starving and not able to feed their family. This is criminal. The IMF is complicit. The Argentina government is complicit. And there's only a few solutions, because as we see this massive great reset happening, that's being forced forward by these criminal psychopaths in the banking system, pharmaceutical industry, the the military industrial complex, and just satanic cults, basically. What we're witnessing is this push towards a cashless society that is centralized, that allows them to track you everywhere you go, use social credit scores, and basically be able to hold you for ransom, my friends. And so this is the thing. They'll basically say if you don't have a high social credit score by getting a vaccine or saying what the government wants you to say, you'll end up losing everything. You'll be tracked everywhere. You won't be able to have access to your money. You won't be able to go to public places. This is insanity. This is technocracy. And we've been seeing it happen in Argentina, as well as Venezuela and many other countries that have been manipulated by the West, other Western governments for years, the CIA, and of course, the United Nations and IMF. Here we have this CoinDesk article, crypto is booming in economically challenged Argentina. So this is the difference, my friends. I talk about the cashless society that's centralized. This is the cashless system that's decentralized, that's a bank in your pocket. We are seeing a move into cryptocurrency because of constraints and because there is not a choice among the people living in places like Argentina and Venezuela, and as well as in Colombia. They have to get into these decentralized currencies because either they're being tracked everywhere, they're getting screwed, their inflation is going through the roof and they're not able to buy things, or they can go into something that is actually inflating the value and makes everything else deflationary in comparison. So it's, what do you want to invest in? Do you want to invest in the Argentinian peso, or do you want to invest in Bitcoin? And all currencies are technically investments. If you put money under your mattress and it's constantly going down in value, it's not an investment. It is a scourge. It is a problem. If you have something like cryptocurrency, it's like, well, why don't you sell your Bitcoin into the pesos once you make enough money off of it? It's like, well, okay, then you're investing in the dollar or the peso if you're selling Bitcoin. And then you're investing in Bitcoin if you're selling the dollar or the peso. And we're seeing countless people use cryptocurrency in Argentina out of the necessity of it. And one of the things that's really helping a lot of people is this thing called DAI. So why Argentines are turning from dollars to stable coins like DAI. So not super volatile, holding its value based on reserves of other cryptocurrencies, not actual reserves of fiat dollars, because a lot of people are worried about that. It is holding value, it's preserving wealth, and it's a very interesting idea, DAI is, as this article goes into. In Argentina, the US dollar has long been the most wanted foreign currency, but these days, people can't stop talking about DAI, a stablecoin issued by maker DAO. DAI's volume has already grown at least sixfold this year, according to information provided by local crypto exchanges Satoshi Tango, Decrypto, and Ripio. Argentines faced with the devaluation of the peso from 0.02 cents to 0.006 cents in just 18 months, and an annual inflation rate higher than 30%, are looking for ways to safeguard their value. But as they are only permitted to buy up to $200 a month in dollars through official channels with an additional tax of 65% over the official quote, some Argentines are turning to stablecoins like DAI. It's amazing. The government's here to help you, except for they're here to tax you and make you suffer and make you dependent and more impoverished, because the more impoverished you are, the more desperate you are, the better servant you are to the state, and they can control you better. The government isn't there to help. They're there to hurt you and then come in as a hero because people are idiots. Continuing on in this article here, as I scroll down, it says, the adoption of DAI became popular because, being a stablecoin and having a quotation linked to the US dollar, many Argentines have decided to acquire it as an indirect form of dollarization. Crypto exchange Buenbit stated in an email sent to CoinDesk. And continuing on, it says, this is all taking place amid an overall crypto boom in Argentina, with crypto exchanges enjoying record growth this year. Sebastian Serrano, CEO of Argentinian crypto exchange Ripio, told CoinDesk the exchange's stablecoin trading volume grew 20 times in 2020. This is increasing month by month due to a local need for dollarization and a bullish crypto market promoting a higher adoption. It's a perfect storm, he stated. Argentines obsessed with US dollars have grown stronger in recent decades, mainly driven by high inflationary processes that pulverize the peso value. We have a relationship with the dollar, it says, that is typical of 70 years without a strong local currency. DAI is an alternative to the dollar, said Matthias LBRY, CEO of Satoshi Tango, an exchange firm that started offering that stable coin in 2020 and increased by 7 its business in Argentina during this year. DAI is, let me scroll up there. DAI is a decentralized cryptocurrency built on Ethereum that is stabilized to the value of US dollar, is pegged one-to-one to this currency via what is known as a maker DAI stablecoin system. The cryptocurrency collateral viewed publicly on Ethereum blockchain keeps DAI's value stable, unlike the other popular stablecoins whose value is backed directly by the US dollar. Although many stablecoins have grown in Argentina, DAI has been a star in the local market. And that success, according to important crypto players such as Serrano from Ripio and LBRY from Satoshi Tango, is partially explained by the early relationship that MakerDAO built with the Latin American crypto ecosystem in 2018. So I find this very interesting because we are seeing people out of desperation decentralize. And as they decentralize, they're going to things like cryptocurrencies, not the banker-controlled centralized cryptocurrency or digital currencies, rather, that are like the Chinese system tied to a technocratic system. In this case, what we have is a stable coin that is preserving the value, allowing them to get around these insane taxes that they're all being extorted, all the while the economy is collapsing, and they faced countless inflationary events over the last century. Unbelievable. I think they might have the record for most inflationary events over the last century. So this is helping people stay alive. We cannot debate that. We have blockchains that can be used to enslave humanity, and we have blockchain technology, if decentralized, that can be used to overthrow that which enslaves humanity. That is a point that needs to be made. So when we see these people get extorted, we see them learning from the extortion. We see them learning from the troubles, from the panic, from the poverty, from the starvation, from the inflation, by moving towards more decentralized alternatives. And the government can ban this and do whatever they want to it. At the end of the day, it will prevail because it is nature's natural function to decentralize for the sake of survival. People aren't stupid. Well, they are stupid in large numbers, but no matter what they believe, they will naturally go to the decentralized alternatives, which is smart. And so when we have all these governments around the world saying they're here to help you while extorting you and destroying their currency's value and pushing you into poverty, you have these options, and people are moving towards those options, which makes the crypto boom inevitable. So that's what I wanted to bring to you guys today, because we see these problems for a century in Argentina, kind of more than that, really. We see these problems in Venezuela. We see these problems in places like Colombia. We see them everywhere now, because really it's a race to the bottom. The US dollar versus the Argentinian peso, it's a race to the bottom. They're all devaluing, and there's ways to decentralize, have a bank in your pocket as long as you protect it, don't use bad online exchanges, etc., and be able to ensure your wealth, and at the same time be able to get some capital gains out of it. Not investment advice, my opinion. Do your own research, as always, my friends. But this is very interesting, and I hope that we can bring you news in the next few years that say, oh, Argentina's economy has gone full crypto. They couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop the flow. No matter what they did to try and force people into technocracy, people pulled away and decentralized. One way or another, we're going into a digital future, my friends. We cannot stop that. We cannot just all go back to gold. I'd like to say that we could, but we can't. We are going in that direction. So either we innovate on the free market in a decentralized manner, or we submit to this enslavement racket of the technocrats that have been long pushing for an enslavement of humanity via cryptographic technology, via banks issuing digital currencies and having your money all tied to the bank. As I've said before, if your money's in the bank, it's not yours, it's the bank's. If your money's always going through the banks via digital transactions and legal tender laws, it's never your money, it's always banks, and you are essentially enslaved to the banking system and the government. So don't keep all your money in the bank, first of all. Second, decentralize in any way you can. These crises are coming to all of you very soon, whether you're in Argentina or elsewhere, and you have to prepare in multiple different ways, from cash flow to investments to wealth insurance. And gold and silver is great too. As a wealth insurance, it's not meant as an investment. So anyway, I wanted to bring all that to you guys, to all of your attention. We will continue to cover it in the future. Make sure to check the links below, hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell. If you're on BitChute, if you're on LBRY/Odysee, and if you're on Flote.app, those are the main sites that we are at. We're also on Rumble at World Alternative Media. We're on Twitter at World Alt Media, and we are, of course, on Instagram at World Alternative Media. We'll be off of those soon. We have NFTs. Check the links below. We have now issued NFT tokens on our opening sequence from the WAM title, World Alternative Media title. We have an interview with G. Edward Griffin that is now being offered as an NFT, and it's the first of its kind. People aren't offering full videos as NFTs. We are, and we're going to try and revolutionize this business the best we can, because we make money, you make money, theoretically, of course. For legal reasons, I have to say that. And there's a way for you to invest in WAM in this way, whereas you have this token and then you can sell it later. We make money as long as it goes up in value or whatever. We can make money off of it, and you can make money off of the investment as well. Both sides win, and you help fund World Alternative Media. So this is very important. We need your help now more than ever, my friends, because they have deleted us off of most of the major platforms. Luckily, we have so much of a snowball effect and people coming over to BitChute and LBRY and Odysee and Flote.app. So that's awesome. You can check below for our Bitcoin address if you want to donate in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, which you can find at our CoinTree link. I would like to point out that there's an EDA token that I think people should consider getting involved in. In my opinion, I think it is set to have really good returns based on just the amount of value in the token itself, and on EDASwap, EDDASWAP. available on Uniswap, etc., because they're going to be doing NFTs on it. And we're going to see, I think, a lot of people flood over this token. Very new, very early on here. So check out Ediswap. I'm not making money saying that. I just think it's a good thing to look into, as well as Epic Cash and a few of the other low market cap cryptocurrencies out there if you're looking for something a little bit more risky, but a little bit more interesting. But again, not investment advice, do your own research, etc., etc. Of course, you can help promote or help donate to WAM by going to gogetfunding.com, because of course we're deleted from GoFundMe previously, one day before YouTube deleted us. They didn't even tell us about it. And of course, we're on Patreon, we're on Subscribestar. Anything helps, my friends. We appreciate it. We have a PayPal link. We have a Teespring store. And of course, you could go and join our newsletter at www.iamband.com, iamband.com. Takes 2 seconds to put your email in. That's it. We won't spam you. You get good information. And we hope that you do join our newsletter so we can at least reach out to you. It takes 2 seconds. If you haven't done it yet, please do. I know there's thousands of you watching that haven't joined it yet. It takes 2 seconds. iamband.com. Anyway, we'll get back to you with much more on all of these subjects. I appreciate everyone watching. Decentralize everything, my friends. Decentralize your life. Free yourself from the chains so many revere. Live by example, live freely, and of course, disobey all the insanity and tyranny around the world. There's many ways to get out of it. And one of those ways, I believe, is to decentralize our currency and get out of this massively fraudulent fiat money system where they just print it, charge you the interest on the debt, and basically cut your throat and cut your children's throats and you cut your grandkids' throats all the way down the line as inflation rises and the value and the price of living goes up, the value of everything plummets, well, versus the amount of money you're getting, the value of your currency. You can keep putting zeros on it, but it could keep getting worth less despite those zeros. Anyway, appreciate everyone watching. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.